Admiral Kethavar stood on the bridge of his massive warship, looking out at the stars. The Eternal Dominance was the largest ship in the Zephyrian fleet. Its crystal walls glowed with blue light, powered by the minds of 1,000 Zephyrian warriors. For 3,000 years, this empire had ruled the galaxy. No enemy had ever defeated them. The bridge was quiet except for the soft humming of psionic energy. Kethavar's forearms moved gracefully as he checked the ship's systems. His tall, thin body was covered in scales that changed color with his mood. Right now, they were a calm blue, showing his confidence. "Admiral," called his second-in-command, "we have a message from the Emperor." Kethavar turned to face the communication crystal. Emperor Zaltek's image appeared, his golden scales shining with power. The Emperor's 6 eyes focused on his greatest admiral. "Kethavar, we have discovered a new species in the Outer Rim. They call themselves humans. Our scouts report they use primitive weapons and slow ships. I want you to prepare for conquest." The admiral bowed his head. "Of course, my Emperor. How many ships will I need?" "Take a small fleet. These humans should surrender quickly once they see our power. Their technology is laughable. They still use metal ships and chemical rockets." Kethavar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "It will be done, Emperor. Another species will bow before our might." Far away, on the other side of the galaxy, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his small office aboard the UES Iron Thunder. The ship was not beautiful like the Zephyrian vessels. It was made of thick steel and covered with weapons. The walls were painted gray and everything had a practical military look. Jake was reading reports from the outer colonies. Settlers were disappearing. Entire farming worlds had gone silent. The last messages spoke of strange crystal ships appearing in the sky. Lieutenant Amy Walsh knocked on his door. She was his tactical officer, a smart woman with short brown hair and sharp green eyes. "Captain, we just received orders from Earth Command." "What do they say?" "We're to investigate the missing colonies. Admiral Blake thinks something big is happening out there." Jake stood up and followed Amy to the bridge. The Iron Thunder was not a large ship, but it was tough. The crew of 200 worked efficiently at their stations. These were professional soldiers who had fought in the Mars Wars and the asteroid conflicts. Commander Rick Chen, the chief engineer, was checking the ship's weapons. "Captain, all systems are ready. We have full ammunition and the engines are running perfectly." Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park looked up from her weapons console. "Sir, I've loaded our best missiles. If we find trouble, we'll be ready for it." Jake nodded. "Good. Set course for the Kepler system. That's where the last colony went silent." The Iron Thunder moved through space at high speed. Its nuclear engines pushed it forward while the crew prepared for whatever they might find. None of them knew they were about to face an empire that had never lost a war. In the Zephyrian capital, Emperor Zalthek walked through his crystal palace. The wall showed images of conquered worlds and defeated enemies. Thousands of species had fallen before Zephyrian power. Some had fought bravely, others had surrendered immediately. All had become slaves. The Emperor stopped at a large window that looked out over his city. Millions of Zephyrians lived here, their scales glowing with psionic energy. Flying vehicles moved between tall crystal towers. Everything was perfect, ordered, and under control. His advisor, a thin Zephyrian named Mordak, approached carefully. "My Emperor, our scouts have brought more information about the humans." "Speak." "They are a young species, only recently reaching space. Their ships are crude, made of metal and powered by simple fusion reactors. They have no psionic abilities. Our warriors can crush their minds easily." The Emperor laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "How amusing. Another primitive race thinks it can challenge us. How many worlds do they control?" "About 50 systems, Emperor. Small colonies, mostly farmers and miners. Perfect. We will make them slaves. Their strong bodies will be useful in our factories." Meanwhile, the Iron Thunder arrived at the Kepler system. Captain Morrison ordered a full scan of the area. What they found made everyone on the bridge go quiet. The colony on Kepler Prime was gone. Not destroyed, simply empty. The buildings were still there, but no people remained. Amy Walsh studied the sensor readings carefully. "Captain, I'm detecting strange energy signatures. Something was here recently. Something big. Any idea what?" "The energy patterns are unlike anything in our database. It's not fusion, not antimatter. It's something completely different." Lisa Park checked her weapon systems again. "Sir, whatever took these people, we should be ready to fight it." Rick Chen reported from engineering. Captain, the ship is ready for combat. All systems are green. Jake made his decision. Take us to the next system. If someone is taking our people, we're going to find them. As the Iron Thunder traveled deeper into space, they didn't know they were being watched. A small Zephyrian scout ship had detected their approach. Commander Velnath studied the strange metal vessel with interest. So this is a human warship, he said to his crew. It looks like a flying piece of scrap metal. His weapons officer laughed. Commander, should we destroy it now? No, let it come closer. I want to see how these humans fight before we kill them. It might be amusing. Velnath's ship was sleek and beautiful, made of living crystal that could repair itself. Its weapons could tear apart asteroids, and its shields could stop any attack. At least that's what every Zephyrian believed. The two ships moved toward each other through the darkness of space. Neither crew knew that this first meeting would change the galaxy forever. The Zephyrians expected easy victory against a primitive enemy. The humans prepared to fight for their survival against an unknown threat. In a few hours, the 3,000-year reign of the Zephyrian Empire would begin to crack. All because a human warship had appeared where no human ship had any right to survive. Commander Velnath watched the human ship approach on his crystal display. The Iron Thunder looked ugly compared to his beautiful vessel. Its gray metal hull was covered with weapon ports and sensor arrays. To Zephyrian eyes, it looked like a flying junkyard. Commander, his navigator said, the human ship has detected us. They are changing course to intercept. Velnath smiled. Good. Open a communication channel. Let's see what these primitives have to say. On the bridge of the Iron Thunder, Amy Walsh looked up from her console. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's using an unknown language, but our computers are working on translation. Jake Morrison straightened in his command chair. Put it through. The main screen flickered and Velnath's image appeared. The alien was tall and thin with 4 arms and scales that shifted from blue to green. His 6 eyes studied the human bridge with obvious amusement. Greetings, primitive creatures, Velnath said, his voice now translated into English. I am Commander Velnath of the Zephyrian Empire. You have entered our territory without permission. Jake stood up slowly. I'm Captain Morrison of the United Earth ship Iron Thunder. We're looking for missing colonists. Have you seen any human settlements in this area? Velnath laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Your colonists are now slaves of the Empire. They serve their new masters well. You have 2 choices, Captain. Surrender your ship and join them, or be destroyed. The bridge crew of the Iron Thunder exchanged glances. Lisa Park's hand moved to her weapons controls. Rick Chen checked the engine status. Amy Walsh began scanning the enemy vessel. I don't think we'll be surrendering today, Jake said calmly. Return our people and we'll leave peacefully. Impossible. They belong to the Empire now. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences. Jake looked at his crew. These were soldiers who had fought in many battles. They knew what needed to be done. I'm afraid we can't do that either. Velnath's scales turned red with anger. Then you will die. All ships attack the human vessel. Show them the power of the Empire. 3 Zephyrian ships suddenly appeared around the Iron Thunder. They had been invisible, hidden by advanced technology. Their crystal hulls glowed with deadly energy as weapons charged. Battle stations, Jake shouted. Alarms rang throughout the ship as the crew prepared for combat. The Zephyrian ships opened fire first. Beams of pure energy struck the Iron Thunder's hull. The ship shook violently, but the thick armor held. Sparks flew from damaged systems as the crew fought to keep fighting. Damage report, Jake called out. Hull breach on Deck 7, Rick reported. Emergency teams are sealing it. Main power is down to 80%. Amy studied her tactical display. Captain, their energy weapons are powerful, but they're having trouble penetrating our armor. Our metal construction seems to resist their attacks better than expected. Lisa grinned as she targeted the nearest enemy ship. Firing missiles! The Iron Thunder launched a salvo of nuclear-tipped missiles. The Zephyrians had never seen such primitive but effective weapons. Their energy shields, designed to stop energy beams, were less effective against physical projectiles traveling at incredible speed. The first missile struck Velnath's ship, causing the crystal hull to crack. The second and third missiles hit other vessels, sending waves of explosive force through their delicate structures. Impossible, Velnath screamed as his ship shook around him. How can primitive weapons damage our ships? His weapons officer was bleeding from several cuts. Commander, their projectiles are moving too fast for our shields to fully stop them, and the explosions are affecting our psionic systems. Meanwhile, on the Iron Thunder, The crew was learning how to fight these new enemies. Amy Walsh noticed something important about the alien ships. Captain, their vessels seem to rely heavily on energy systems. Our electromagnetic pulse warheads might be very effective against them. Do it, Jake ordered. Lisa launched a special missile designed to create a massive electromagnetic pulse. When it exploded near the Zephyrian formation, the results were devastating. The aliens' crystal technology began to malfunction as electrical systems overloaded. One Zephyrian ship spun out of control, its crew unable to navigate as their instruments failed. Another ship's weapons stopped working entirely, leaving it defenseless. Velnath tried to rally his remaining vessels. All ships focus fire on the human bridge. Destroy their command center. But the human ship was already moving. Jake had ordered evasive maneuvers, and the Iron Thunder twisted through space like a dancing elephant. Its thick armor absorbed hit after hit while its weapons continued to fire back. Their ship is so heavy and crude, the Zephyrian navigator complained. How can it move so quickly? What the aliens didn't understand was that human ships were built for war. Every system had backups. Every weapon was designed to keep firing even when damaged. The crew had trained for years to fight in the worst possible conditions. Lisa Park targeted the lead Zephyrian ship with everything they had. Firing main cannons. The Iron Thunder's largest weapons were simple but devastating. High-velocity projectiles struck the alien vessel's crystal hull, shattering its delicate structure. The ship exploded in a shower of glowing fragments. Velnath watched in horror as another of his ships was destroyed by human weapons. These primitives were supposed to be easy targets. Instead, they were fighting like experienced warriors. Commander, his second-in-command said urgently, we've lost 2 ships. The humans are too dangerous. We should retreat. Velnath's pride fought with his survival instincts. No Zephyrian commander had ever retreated from primitives, but his beautiful ships were being destroyed by crude human technology. Another missile struck his vessel, and crystal fragments fell around him. His navigation systems were failing, and half his weapons were offline. All ships, he said bitterly, withdraw from combat. We retreat. The remaining Zephyrian vessels fled into hyperspace, leaving the Iron Thunder alone among the debris. Jake Morrison looked at the wreckage floating around his ship and realized that everything had just changed. Amy, send a message to Earth Command immediately. Tell them we've made contact with a hostile alien empire, and tell them we won. Amy Walsh began composing the message that would change human history. For the first time in 3,000 years, someone had defeated the Zephyrian Empire in battle. It was only the beginning. Emperor Zaltek's scales turned from gold to deep red as he listened to Commander Velnath's report. The throne room was silent except for the humming of crystal technology. No one dared to speak as the Emperor's rage grew. You were defeated, the Emperor said slowly, by primitives using metal ships and chemical weapons. Velnath knelt before the throne, his body shaking. Yes, my Emperor. Their technology was different than expected. Their weapons were crude but effective. Different how? Their ship was built like a fortress. Our energy weapons couldn't penetrate their thick armor easily. And their projectile weapons moved too fast for our shields to stop completely. The Emperor stood up, his massive form towering over the kneeling commander. You lost 2 ships to 1 primitive vessel. This is unacceptable. Emperor, please understand. These humans fight unlike any species we've encountered. They don't follow proper battle tactics. Silence! The Emperor's voice echoed through the crystal chamber. Admiral Kethvar, you will take a full battle fleet and destroy these humans completely. Make an example of them that will be remembered for 1,000 years. Admiral Kethvar stepped forward and bowed. It will be done, my Emperor. How many ships should I take? 30 vessels. Enough to crush any resistance and show the galaxy that the Empire remains strong. Far away on Earth, Admiral Susan Blake read Captain Morrison's report for the 3rd time. The implications were staggering. An alien empire with advanced technology had been enslaving human colonies, but a single human ship had defeated them in battle. She stood in the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, looking at a holographic display of human space. 50 colonies scattered across dozens of star systems, all now potentially under threat. Admiral, her aide said, Captain Morrison's ship has arrived at New Denver Colony. He reports the settlement is intact but heavily defended by the colonists. Good. Order all available ships to rendezvous at New Denver. If this empire wants a fight, we'll give them one they won't forget. The human fleet began to gather. Ships from Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies all converged on New Denver. They were not as advanced as the alien vessels, but they were built by people who understood war. Captain Tony Rivera commanded the UES Stormbringer, a fast destroyer designed for hit-and-run attacks. His crew of experienced fighters had served in the asteroid belt conflicts. Captain Beth Collins led the carrier Skyhammer, loaded with fighter squadrons and Marines. Her pilots were the best in the fleet, trained to fight in the vacuum of space. Captain Jake Morrison arrived first at New Denver. His ship, the Iron Thunder, still showed damage from the battle with the Zephyrians, but it had proven that humans could fight these aliens and win. Amy Walsh worked with the colony's defense coordinator to prepare for the coming attack. We need to set up missile platforms in the asteroid belt. If they come with a large fleet, we'll need every advantage we can get. Lisa Park trained the colonial militia in using captured Zephyrian weapons. The energy devices were complex, but humans learned quickly when their survival depended on it. Rick Chen supervised repairs to the Iron Thunder while studying wreckage from the destroyed alien ships. Captain, their technology is based on crystals that channel psionic energy. But the crystals are fragile. Our explosive weapons can shatter them easily. Meanwhile, Admiral Kethvar prepared his battle fleet. 30 of the Empire's finest warships gathered in formation. Each vessel was beautiful and deadly, crewed by warriors who had never known defeat. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, the human colony at New Denver has only 12 ships defending it. Our victory is certain. Kethvar studied the reports of the previous battle. Don't underestimate them. Velnath was overconfident and it cost him ships. These humans may be primitive, but they're dangerous. His second-in-command laughed. Admiral, 12 ships against 30. Even if the humans fight well, the numbers are impossible. Perhaps, but we will be careful. I want constant scanning for their projectile weapons, and keep our ships spread out so their explosives can't damage multiple vessels. The Zephyrian fleet entered hyperspace, heading for the New Denver system. In a few hours, they would face the largest human force ever assembled. Neither side knew that this battle would determine the fate of the galaxy. On New Denver, the colonists prepared their defenses. Farmers and miners became soldiers overnight. They had heard about their missing neighbors on other worlds. They knew what would happen if the aliens won. Captain Morrison called a meeting of all ship commanders. The enemy has 30 ships to our 12. They have better individual technology, but we have advantages too. What advantages? Asked Captain Rivera. We've been fighting wars against each other for centuries. We know tactics they've never seen, and our ships are built to take damage and keep fighting. Captain Collins nodded. My fighters can swarm their larger vessels. Energy shields might not stop all of them. Amy Walsh pointed to the tactical display. Their weapons are powerful but seem to work best at medium range. If we can get close or stay far away, we might be able to outmaneuver them. The human commanders spent hours planning their defense. They had no illusions about the challenge ahead. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered the galaxy for 3,000 years. But humans had something the aliens had forgotten about: the desperate courage of people fighting for their homes. As the alien fleet approached New Denver, Admiral Kethvar felt confident. His ships were the finest in the galaxy. His crews were experienced warriors. These primitive humans would learn the price of defying the Empire. But in the back of his mind, a small doubt remained. How had 12 human ships destroyed 2 Zephyrian vessels? What were these strange creatures capable of when cornered and fighting for survival? He would soon find out. The battle that would shake the foundations of the Empire was only hours away. Admiral Kethvar's fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the New Denver system. 30 crystal warships appeared in perfect formation, their hulls glowing with deadly energy. The Admiral stood on his command bridge, studying the human defensive positions. Report, he ordered. Sir, we detect 12 human vessels in defensive formation around the colony world. Several ships are hiding in the asteroid belt. They appear to be waiting for us. Kethvar nodded slowly. These humans are more cautious than Commander Velnath reported. Very well. All ships advance in battle formation. We will destroy them systematically. On the bridge of the Iron Thunder, Captain Morrison watched the alien fleet approach. The Zephyrian ships were beautiful and terrible, like deadly jewels floating through space. But Jake had seen their weakness in the previous battle. Amy, are all ships ready? Lieutenant Walsh checked her communications. Yes, sir. Captain Rivera is positioned with the fast destroyers in the asteroid belt. Captain Collins has her fighters ready to launch. All missile platforms are armed and waiting. Good, remember the plan. We hit them hard and fast, then fall back to the next defensive line. The battle began when the Zephyrian ships opened fire at long range. Beams of pure energy lanced through space, striking human vessels. The Skyhammer shook as energy blasts hit its thick armor, but the carrier continued launching its fighters. Admiral Kethvar frowned as he watched the human ships absorb his weapons fire. Their armor is remarkably thick for such primitive technology. Increase power to all weapons, but the humans were already moving. Captain Rivera led his destroyers out of the asteroid belt in a flanking attack. The Stormbringer and 3 other fast ships raced toward the Zephyrian formation, their missile tubes loaded and ready. All ships, fire, Rivera commanded. Dozens of missiles streaked toward the alien fleet. The Zephyrians tried to intercept them with energy beams, but there were too many projectiles moving too fast. The first wave of missiles struck home, causing crystal hulls to crack and energy systems to overload. 2 Zephyrian ships lost power as their delicate crystal matrices shattered. A third vessel spun out of control, its navigation systems destroyed by electromagnetic pulses from the human warheads. Impossible, Kethvar shouted as his fleet took heavy damage. How can such crude weapons be so effective? His tactical officer studied the sensor readings. Admiral, their missiles use a combination of kinetic energy and electromagnetic pulses. Our shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not these primitive but effective projectiles. Meanwhile, Captain Collins launched her fighter squadrons. 60 small human craft swarmed toward the alien formation like angry insects. The Zephyrian ships tried to target them with their main weapons, but the fighters were too small and fast. Focus on the larger vessels, Collins ordered her pilots. Hit their weapon ports and engine sections. The human fighters dove between the massive alien ships, firing rockets and energy weapons captured from previous battles. Their attacks were like bee stings against giants, but even giants could be brought down by enough small wounds. Admiral Kethvar realized his perfect formation was falling apart. The humans weren't fighting like civilized warriors. They were using every dirty trick and desperate tactic they could think of. All ships break formation and engage individually, he commanded. Destroy those fighters first. But breaking formation was exactly what the humans wanted. Captain Morrison led the main human fleet in a direct assault on the scattered alien vessels. The Iron Thunder and its companion ships charged straight into the enemy formation, their heavy weapons blazing. Amy Walsh coordinated the attack from her tactical station. Lisa, target that command ship. Rick, I need more power to the forward shields. Lisa Park grinned as she locked onto Admiral Kethavar's flagship. Firing everything we have. The Iron Thunder's main cannon spoke with thunder. High-velocity projectiles slammed into the Zephyrian command ship, each impact sending crystal fragments flying through space. The alien vessel's beautiful hull cracked like broken glass. Admiral Kethvar felt his ship shake around him. Damage report! Admiral, our main crystal matrix is failing. Navigation and weapons are operating at 60%. We're losing structural integrity. The human attack was relentless. Captain Rivera's destroyers hit the alien flanks while Captain Collins's fighters swarmed over individual ships. The main human fleet pressed forward, their thick armor allowing them to absorb tremendous punishment while dealing it back. But the Zephyrians were not defenseless. Their energy weapons were still powerful and they had centuries of combat experience. Several human ships took critical damage as alien beams found weak points in their armor. The destroyer Wind Dancer exploded when its reactor was hit by concentrated fire. The cruiser Iron Will lost half its weapons and limped away from the battle. But for every human ship damaged, 2 Zephyrian vessels were destroyed or disabled. Admiral, Kethvar's second-in-command said urgently, "We've lost 8 ships. The humans are coordinating their attacks too well. We should consider retreat." Kethvar's scales turned dark red with rage and shame. "No, the Empire does not retreat from primitives. All remaining ships target their command vessel. We will end this by destroying their leader." 15 Zephyrian ships focused their fire on the Iron Thunder. Captain Morrison's ship became the center of a storm of energy beams and plasma bolts. The human vessel's armor glowed white-hot under the intense assault. "Hull breaches on decks 4, 7, and 9, Rick Chen reported. "Main power is down to 40%. I don't know how much more we can take." Jake Morrison made a decision that would be remembered for centuries. "All power to engines. Ram the flagship," Amy Walsh stared at him. "Captain, that's suicide." "Maybe. But if we take out their command ship, the others might break." "To it." The Iron Thunder accelerated directly toward Admiral Kethvar's massive vessel. The Zephyrian flagship fired everything it had, but the human ship kept coming. Its armor was melting, its hull was cracking, but it didn't stop. "Admiral, the human ship is on a collision course," the Zephyrian navigator reported in panic. "Evasive maneuvers," Kethvar ordered, but his damaged ship was too slow. The Iron Thunder struck the Zephyrian flagship like a metal comet. Both ships exploded in a blast that lit up the entire system. Admiral Kethvar and Captain Morrison died together in that moment. But their sacrifice decided the battle. The remaining Zephyrian ships, seeing their commander's vessel destroyed and facing continued human attacks, finally broke. The survivors fled into hyperspace, leaving behind the wreckage of half their fleet. Captain Rivera, now the senior human officer, surveyed the battlefield. "All ships report status. The human fleet had taken heavy losses, but they had won. For the second time in a week, Zephyrian forces had been defeated by human ships. The Empire's reputation for invincibility was beginning to crack. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Emperor Zalthek received the news in stunned silence. His greatest admiral was dead. Half of a major fleet had been destroyed by primitive humans using crude weapons and desperate tactics. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Emperor felt something he had forgotten existed: fear. News of the disaster at New Denver spread through the Zephyrian Empire like wildfire. For 3,000 years, the Empire had been invincible. Now twice in 1 week, their fleets had been destroyed by a primitive species called humans. On dozens of conquered worlds, subject species began to whisper. If humans could defeat the mighty Zephyrians, perhaps freedom was possible. On the mining world of Keltor 7, the enslaved Dreknari rebels attacked their Zephyrian overseers. On the ocean world of Aquanis, the amphibious Selkani declared independence. Emperor Zalthek sat on his crystal throne, his scales flickering between gold and deep black. His advisors stood in nervous silence, afraid to speak. The Emperor had executed 3 generals already for bringing bad news. "Mordak," the Emperor said quietly. "What is the status of our fleet?" His chief advisor stepped forward carefully. "My Emperor, we have lost nearly 40 ships to human forces. Several subject worlds are in rebellion. Our governors are requesting additional troops. And our response? Emperor, perhaps we should negotiate with these humans. Their weapons seem designed specifically to counter our technology." The Emperor's scales turned blood red. "Negotiate? The Empire does not negotiate with primitives. Prepare the Grand Fleet. I will personally lead it to destroy the human homeworld." Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Susan Blake coordinated the largest military buildup in human history. Every shipyard worked around the clock. Every factory produced weapons and armor. Humanity was preparing for total war. Captain Amy Walsh, now promoted to command the rebuilt Iron Thunder, stood in the Earth Defense Command Center. She wore the uniform of a full captain, earned through her actions at New Denver. The new Iron Thunder was bigger and stronger than the original, incorporating lessons learned from fighting the Zephyrians. "Admiral," Amy reported, "our scouts confirm a massive alien fleet is approaching. Over 200 ships, including their largest vessels. They appear to be heading straight for Earth." Admiral Blake nodded grimly. "How long until they arrive?" 6 days, ma'am. Then we have 6 days to prepare humanity's last stand." The human fleet gathered near Jupiter. Ships from every colony and station joined the defense. The carrier Skyhammer had been rebuilt and upgraded. Captain Beth Collins now commanded an entire fighter wing. Hundreds of small craft designed to swarm enemy vessels. Captain Tony Rivera led a squadron of new destroyers, ships designed specifically to fight Zephyrians. They carried advanced missiles that could punch through crystal hulls and electromagnetic weapons that could disable alien technology. But the biggest surprise was hidden in the asteroid belt. Human engineers had been working day and night to build something the galaxy had never seen before: orbital defense platforms armed with weapons that combined human and captured Zephyrian technology. Emperor Zalthek's Grand Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 200 crystal warships formed a perfect wall of death stretching across space. The Emperor himself commanded from the massive super dreadnought Divine Wrath, a ship larger than some space stations. "Emperor," his navigator reported, We detect the human fleet near the large gas giant. Approximately 70 ships of various sizes. The Emperor smiled coldly. 70 against 200. Even these unusual humans cannot overcome such odds. Begin the attack. The Zephyrian fleet advanced in perfect formation, but as they approached Jupiter, hidden defense platforms revealed themselves. Hundreds of weapon emplacements opened fire simultaneously, filling space with missiles and energy beams. What is this? The Emperor demanded as his ships came under attack from all directions. Emperor, the humans have built fortifications throughout their system. We're detecting weapons fire from the asteroid belt, the gas giants' moons, and orbital platforms. The humans had learned from their previous battles. Instead of meeting the aliens in open space, they had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Every asteroid had been hollowed out and filled with weapons. Every moon had become a missile base. Captain Amy Walsh led the main human fleet in a charge that seemed impossible. 70 ships attacking 200 should have been suicide. But the humans were no longer fighting alone. All ships execute attack pattern Delta, Amy commanded. Stay close to the defense platforms and let them provide cover. The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, using the orbital defenses to protect their flanks while they struck at weak points in the alien formation. Their weapons had been upgraded with technology captured from previous battles. Captain Collins launched her fighters in waves. Each squadron was armed with new missiles designed to exploit Zephyrian weaknesses. The small human craft swarmed over the massive alien ships like angry hornets. Captain Rivera's destroyers hit the enemy flanks with devastating missile barrages. The Zephyrian ships, designed for fighting energy weapons, found themselves helpless against the humans' improved projectile technology. Emperor Zalthek watched in growing horror as his perfect fleet was torn apart. Human weapons seemed to find every weakness in Zephyrian design. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds were exploding like fragile toys. How is this possible? He raged. They're primitives. Savages using crude technology. His tactical officer was bleeding from several wounds as the divine wrath shook under human fire. Emperor, they've adapted their weapons to counter our defenses. And their tactics are unlike anything we've seen. They don't fight with honor. They fight to win. The battle raged for hours. Human ships were destroyed. Brave crews died, but for every human vessel lost, 3 Zephyrian ships were eliminated. The aliens' numerical advantage meant nothing against human determination and superior tactics. The turning point came when Captain Amy Walsh led a desperate attack on the Emperor's flagship. The new Iron Thunder, supported by a dozen other ships, charged straight into the heart of the alien formation. All weapons, target their command ship, Amy ordered. This ends now. The combined firepower of the human squadron focused on the divine wrath. Advanced missiles punched through its crystal armor while electromagnetic weapons overloaded its delicate systems. The massive ship pride of the Zephyrian fleet began to break apart. Emperor Zalthek felt his empire dying around him. His beautiful ships were burning ruins. His perfect warriors were defeated by creatures he had dismissed as primitives. As his flagship exploded, his last thought was of the 3,000-year-old empire that had died because it had underestimated the human spirit. The surviving Zephyrian ships fled in panic. Without their emperor and with most of their fleet destroyed, the empire's military collapsed. On worlds throughout the galaxy, subject species rose in rebellion. Inspired by human victory, Captain Amy Walsh stood on the bridge of the Iron Thunder, looking at the debris field that had once been the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Around her, the crew worked to rescue survivors from damaged human ships. Captain, her communications officer reported, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Dozens of species are declaring independence from the Empire. They're asking for human assistance. Amy smiled tiredly. Send them our coordinates. Tell them that anyone who wants freedom is welcome to join us. In the months that followed, the Zephyrian Empire crumbled completely. 3,000 years of tyranny ended not through conquest, but through the example of one stubborn species that refused to surrender. The phrase, "their empire fell when a human warship appeared," became a rallying cry for freedom throughout the galaxy. Humanity, once unknown beyond their small corner of space, became the symbol of hope for every oppressed species in the stars. The galaxy would never be the same, and it was all because humans had proven that determination, courage, and the willingness to fight for what's right could overcome any technological advantage. The Empire had fallen, and from its ashes rose a new age of freedom among the stars.